All right, hello. I'm starting this online journal or some type of digital diary to post videos on YouTube. Now, I ask myself, why am I doing this? Well, I'm a pretty introverted person. I can go days and days without seeing another person or interacting with people. Um, so, in a sense, there's these days and days where it's just thoughts in my head that never come out and I'll forget about them. And I was driving and I saw a graveyard and all the tombstones. It's like all these people whose thoughts will never be heard. How many thoughts or ideas or conversations that will never be had? How many of these unrealized projects went to the grave with all of these people? And obviously, you can't say or do or make everything that pops in your head, but just writing it down or sketching it out or making a little video, it creates a sort of fossil record, a sort of digital fossil record for yourself, also for other people to absorb. And we're social animals, so we want to hear and feel like we're connected and connect with other people. So that's perhaps partly why I'm also making this, although it's not real connection. Right now, I'm completely alone. I'm kind of speaking into a void. There's no one in here. But I'm also doing this with the knowledge that in the future, other people will be seeing this, or maybe no one will see it. YouTube is kind of oversaturated with talking head videos, and I'm not putting any effort into editing or production value or anything like that. I ain't got time for that. I'm literally just letting my consciousness go into a microphone and tickle your consciousness. And there's something that we like about that. Just hearing another person's voice or hearing their ideas, it sort of gets you out of your own head. Brain function changes when you interact with someone, even though we're not interacting. Just the fact that you're hearing someone else's ideas, it can get you out of your own thought loop. I know this is true for myself. That's why when I'm working on stuff, I like to put on like little nerdy video game podcasts or just listen to music, things to keep that chattering voice, that neurotic little person in my head who just says the same things over and over, get him to be silent for a bit and absorb someone else's thoughts. So that's sort of what we're all doing on the internet, is we're leaving a digital footprint. A lot of people are paranoid about that. But it's fascinating because, thousands of years ago, if you wanted to leave a footprint, your footprint would be left by what tools you made, what could withstand the elements, like your stone tools that you would have made, paintings, cave paintings. This is all leaving a mark on nature. It's leaving a physical footprint for humans to be tickled by your consciousness that existed thousands of years ago. We're all still the same species. However, now there's all these layers to putting yourself into the fossil record. It really changed with the printing press, where the proliferation of books, you could get your ideas into books, and the books could be more easily spread and go from one brain to the next, and people could discuss it orally. Before books, it was all oral tradition, but the problem with that is that it's like if you ever played the game of telephone, you repeat the same thing over and over, but you think you're repeating the same thing, but there's little tweaks. One person might mishear a word, or maybe you hear the same word as someone else, but you interpret the concept differently, and it changes and morphs and evolves over time. The benefit of writing is that we could accurately record and measure things. I mean, the first alphabet was like I think about 5,000 years ago. I forget where, maybe ancient Mesopotamia, or I can't remember. I know like the first sort of literary work we have is the Epic of Gilgamesh, but who knows what we've lost over time. But the alphabet essentially, or like our proto-written language was mainly about recording like valuable things like money or crops and things like that. But as time went on, we could start telling more elaborate stories. And so YouTube, flash forward, 2006 or so, YouTube gets invented and people start vlogging. And I started vlogging. And it's really embarrassing to go back and look at some of the stuff I was talking about, and I'll probably be embarrassed by this video if I ever watch it again. I probably won't. But it's just fascinating to see this person that is myself, that is also not myself. This person I'm looking at is dead as far as I'm concerned. Like, yes, I'm a continuation of who I was in 2006, but every year, every day, there's little tweaks. There's little tweaks to your personality. You learn new things. You adapt. You change. It reminds me of Heraclitus, the pre-Socratic ancient Greek philosopher. He's famous for talking about how you're never the same person. The only constant is change. You're never the same person from one day to the next, just as a river is always changing because it's different water molecules moving through the river. So if you step into a river twice, you're not the same person, and that's not the same river. I mean, it's the same, more or less a consistent continuation of the river and person that came before, but it's a gradual evolution. It's not the exact same. I mean, I'm still more like myself than I am someone else who has a different identity and a different continuation of their previous selves. But the person I was when I was a fetus, or like when I was a little kid, or who I'll be when I'm 90, these are all different versions that have been adapted and changed by the environment and friendships and gains and losses. So there's just a billion versions of yourself from moment to moment that poof in and out of existence. And whatever I am right now will cease to exist. It's already ceased to exist as I'm speaking this. I'm in the past. I'm even more in the past for whoever's watching this right now, because you're in my future. You're someone out there. And there's something trippy and weird and cool about this, that we can put our consciousness into a type of fossil record. Like, this is never... I feel like people don't fully appreciate how insane this is. That we can just put some little digital virtual avatar of ourselves onto the internet, and other people can be like, this is going into someone's brain, and that's super weird. And then you think, well, maybe like 4,000 years from now, if we haven't destroyed ourselves, how many of these fossils are going to exist? Because the fossil record, we're lucky that we even have one. The fossil record is just a bonus. There's no guarantee that whatever we are right now will be preserved in the future, like in the distant future. And I'm not particularly concerned about that. I'm kind of doing this more for pragmatic reasons. Partially is, like I mentioned earlier, I'm very introverted, and I find articulating my thoughts with language is often difficult, especially in real-time conversation, where you're having to process other people's emotions and thinking about what am I saying? How's this going to be interpreted? Once I start talking, sometimes I don't stop, and that's kind of what's happening now. Is I never know where. It's just like this flowing state, and it's often uncomfortable. So I'm trying to get more comfortable with it. And so, yeah, when I started vlogging several years ago, 20 years ago, I really struggled with talking, and it did help me over time making more videos. So I'm just trying to get back into the habit of that. And also, just like I said, it was super embarrassing watching these old videos, but at the same time, it was fascinating because I was very different, and I wouldn't have remembered what I was like back then if I didn't have some kind of record for it. So partially the point of this channel is going to be just getting better at talking, and also sharing my thoughts on different things. And I guess that's about it. So if you want to, subscribe or whatever, feel free to do that. I'm not going to force you. And like the video if you liked it. And I'll probably see you in the next video if I ever make a new video.